It also happens to be Ukraine's Independence Day. President Biden is commemorating it by sending them another $3 billion in aid to prolong a war so more Ukrainians die. In a statement, Biden said this package is going to help Ukrainians fight for years to come. Years? That's what we're looking for? Another long-ass war with no terminus? Congress has already approved $54 billion to Ukraine. In total, we've sent them more than $13.6 billion in military aid since Biden took office. So how deep does the money pit go, Chris?
As apparently as deep as the establishment and the Democratic Party wants it to go. Like, isn't there some point at which we ask what is the United States' national interest in being involved in a proxy war with a nuclear power in Ukraine? Isn't there at some point we say, like, God, we have a lot of problems facing this country, real problems. We have unemployment, homelessness, people who are hungry. Everybody's concerned about all the illegal immigrants across the world, all this. Like, isn't there any way we could spend that money better anyway? Rather than writing blank checks to Ukraine? Like, I mean, to me, it is absolutely appalling that any idea that you question this immediately gets called out as, oh, you're just a stooge for the Russians.
Yeah,
and Putin,
you're pro-Putin, like, Chris. I get it. Yeah, no, you're a Russian asset.
Exactly. That is exactly the level of discourse we're seeing from the other side. When I'm saying, like, at what point, how many billions of U.S. taxpayer dollars do we have to spend in a proxy war thousands of miles away before we say, hey, what's it for?
Yes. What is it for, Kevin? Because it seems as though especially moderate Democrats have become the new hawks. And Republicans like Chris Barron and Pete Hegseth, they're the ones trying to pump the brakes on another war that will be interminable.
Well, Kenny, I'm still encouraged that the vast majority of Republicans, especially in Congress, and Democrats are united in our support of Ukraine 6 months into this unprecedented attack by Russia. The fact that so many billions of dollars had flowed in, and to your point, Kennedy, now the weapon systems are for long-range, long-term investments, because I think Putin's game plan all along is to run out the clock. To the idea that Americans will grow tired of this, that Europeans will grow tired of this, and the fact that there's still Russian troops in Ukraine is a serious problem. So we're equipping them with the resources necessary to take back their country. We're not losing American lives as part of this, and we are supporting an underdog against a huge aggressor in that region. And again, you only need to study World War II, the history of this world, to see what happens when we give in to dictators that just freely take over the land of smaller countries in this world.
Or you can look at the Vietnam War or what happened in Afghanistan and see that this entire thing is a fool's errand. And, you know, sure, you can stand with Ukraine, Dave, without wishing them imminent death, which is what we're doing by propping them up just long enough to continue fighting this for years and years so more people in Ukraine are displaced and they die. So our Secretary of State has no problem calling his counterpart to talk about Brittany Griner, but he won't talk about Ukraine.
Yeah. No, I mean, right. Like, to your point, look, I root for freedom and peace all throughout the world for everybody. That's I hope that's what ends up happening. But I think that, you know, and you have regularly on this show who I think is the best guy in the country on this and all foreign policy issues, is Scott Horton, and he's laid out the case many times that it's very clear that the goal here is to prolong the conflict, to give Russia their own Afghanistan, as Zbigniew Brzezinski bragged about in his memoir, giving Russia their own Vietnam in Afghanistan back then in 1979. And so that's the plan here, to draw out the war. And I got to say, even as somebody who, you know, I talk more than anyone else about how evil and corrupt and criminal the government is, I'm blown away by the insane recklessness of this policy. That you would think, I would think the elites even would be concerned about nuclear war. I mean, obviously they don't lose anything when there's a war in Iraq. They just all get rich, and other people's poor kids go die, and 1 million Iraqis get killed. That's not their concern. But nuclear war is a threat to them too. The idea that the #1 goal here wouldn't be to absolutely make sure that there's not a conflict between Russia and the United States, the two countries that have 90% of the world's nuclear arsenal. It's really something something to watch. To just keep sending weapons in. Look, the amount of propaganda that's put into this, Vladimir Putin's a bad guy. I do not like him. I do not like his government. But the idea that it is such a huge given that Ukraine must be ruled by Kiev and not Moscow. Like that's so, as if Ukraine is some beacon of democracy and freedom. They're a one-party state that has banned the opposition party. No, of course not. But that's the point. It's right. It's two kind of authoritarian governments having a border dispute war that we've gotten involved in and provoked.
So we've allocated $54 billion, and Germany's like, we sent over 500 million. It's like, eat rocks.
The Europeans need to do way more, Kennedy.
Yeah, they do, absolutely. And we need to do way less.
Or maybe we should all do way less.
Yes.
Maybe we should all do way less and just try to negotiate a peace and not be insane about it.
I would love to negotiate
maybe that's
peace. I think that would be great. I think peace brings prosperity. But, you know, drones are so fun. Why wouldn't we? Party panel, thanks so much. Chris, Kevin, Dave, yes. And by the way, Scott Horton likes you too. You should call him. Coming up here on the Kennedy Radio program, we know every dog is a winner. My next guest, a real champion, a surfing champion. I'll chat with this year's World Surfing Dog champ, Skylar, and Skylar's owner, Homer, next.